Good morning, guys. This is Thursday morning at WISP America 2017. Hopefully we'll get all of our Ubiquiti videos done this time. And I've got Brandon from the Unifi area of Ubiquiti to talk about some of their software improvements. Hardware's a little changed since the last video, so we'll talk about some of their significant software changes and what's coming.
Yep. Hey guys, so Brandon from the Unifi team. You might remember me from the last video showing the hardware. So, AC Pro, AC In-Wall, AC HD, the Mesh series, all that stuff is out, shipping now. The new switches, little switches, big switches. So,
and then if you guys remember, it may have been difficult to get both his head and the product in the view at the same time.
So we just gave up this time. So now it's none of that. So I wanted to start with our dashboard. Some of you might not be used to this. So this is a dashboard of controllers. So say if you've got a bunch of cloud keys, or you just have a bunch of controllers in general, so you can sort them here. So these are all the cloud keys that I'm monitoring, like my house, my in-laws house, then software installations I'm monitoring, and then Elite, which is our direct cloud, show up here. And then you can sort by online, offline to see if what's going on. So this one is that's out of the country. I actually don't know why that's offline right now. They might be doing maintenance, or his internet's down or something. So you can see all your sites. Some new features here you might not be aware of. So you've got settings, which is for cloud subscription. So you can do straight up cloud subscription now. We'll be talking more about that later. Map functionality. So if you've got sites around the world, which a lot of people at least have around the U.S., around their country, so you can map it out and be like, oh yeah, that's the site that's having issues or what have you. So it'll also auto-locate sites. So you can hit the locate button, and then that will show up on the site. So it's trying to locate this controller now. So it does that based on actually Google index. So actually it found that controller and placed it so that's the FedEx form. So we were actually pretty close to the FedEx form, so that's the one it just located, and it actually seems pretty accurate. Excuse the slow loading. I'm tethered with my iPhone right now. So there you go, FedEx form, right there. So the other functionality is discovering devices. So when you're adopting to a remote controller, cloud controller on AWS, whether it's ours or a cloud key that's remote or whatever, traditionally you've done that via the command line or the discovery utility. Now that's actually integrated directly into the interface. So you can see it's finding cloud keys that might be local. It's also looking for devices. I'm tethered via LTE, so it shouldn't find anything unless Verizon has something on their network. So that's the functionality that's been added to our cloud dashboard, a hybrid dashboard. You can see visibility into your sites. So say if you've got a controller with multiple sites, you can look at all that, and then you can launch the sites, so you can see various sites here and their status, what devices are up and down, what unread alerts and such. So if I go back to this site, pick that. So it's now using our remote tunneling technology, which is based on WebRTC. So it's discovering where this is. There's no port forwarding or anything involved. This is all using, and it's over LTE as well. So this is getting through Verizon's filters and all that stuff to prevent this sort of thing. So I got past that, gets to the dashboard. And so now you can see one popular request is to see your VPN status. So we have that up there now. And you can see the health of your network. So you can see what's going up, what's going down right now. So actually the last speed test, so you can have it so it periodically tests if you're getting the internet that you pay for, and then history of throughput. So my home network, there hasn't been much going on, 2 megabit per second. Someone's probably watching Netflix. Actually, no, you can see it's more upload than download, so that's probably not Netflix. It's probably FaceTime or something. You can see your channel plan, so you can see how the APs are distributed on channel. One of the coming soons is we're going to show throughput, number of users, multicast, broadcast, all that sort of stuff, channel utilization on here as well. And you can see client breakdowns, so how many unified devices you're running, the state of them, type of devices that are on your network. You can see I've got 43 Ubiquiti devices, a bunch of video cameras and such, some 9 Nest devices, 6 Sonos. We used to have issues with Sonos, don't anymore. That helped. And then also breakdown of your traffic, so deep packet inspection. So streaming media is the majority at my house, and then you got network protocols, web, social network. That's my wife. And so speaking of like insight into your network, so this is like overall view. We've added quite a bit for on the router side for Insight, and that's some of it. And then also quite a bit. Let's see if it loads here. Yeah, there we go. Again, I'm on LTE connection because the Wi-Fi here isn't working very well. So if we go to switch stats, this is a new feature, relatively new. So you can look at 5 minutes, hourly, daily, and have visibility into your network. So you can see that on my attic AP, there's every hour, I think it is, there's 2.5 gigabytes of traffic flowing through that. And then up until now, and there's no traffic in the future. And this is actually because most of the backhaul for my cameras goes through this. So these are the cameras streaming. So it's pretty easy to see who's using what, how much throughput's flowing through on your whole network. So you can go through and select a different switch. Again, excuse the load time, it's a really slow connection here. And you can see this is pretty hammered switch, and it auto just shows all the ports that are up. And again, you can go through, you can select dates, see what your traffic is historically, and change the resolution that you want to look at it. And speaking of insight into your network, so that's one of the newer features that's been really popular. The other is Topology View. So this is probably going to be a mess because my controller has so many things. But if you look at here, so this is actually zoomable. You can see how everything is architected. So you can show clients or not show clients, so that simplifies it a little. So you're not showing the clients connected, and it works with all Unifi devices that are monitorable. So I've got a bunch of stuff that's plugged in through third-party devices for compatibility, so those don't get topology information. But anything that's actually flowing through Unifi equipment, you can do like path analysis, you can see where they are. So this is a switch, another switch, this is the gateway, and then you can see where users, so if you show clients, and boom, then you can show how your clients are distributed. And same thing on the physical map, but nothing's placed properly on my map, so that'll be a little bit of a cluster. So other new features, access controls, some of you may be already aware of this, but we have access controls, radius controls on all our switches, even the little ones, so you can go in, and I believe it's under services, so you can do 802.1 X control. You can have profiles, so you can create radius profiles, and then you can assign this, so you can do radius VLAN for wired and wireless. So when a user connects, you identify them with radius, and then they get their own VLANs. So you can you don't have to have a static set for your network, but you still have isolation. And along those lines, we're adding, and in the process of soaking, a lot of features along that. So we have a built-in radius server in our security gateway, so the router, and that's integrated in here. So you can actually create a new radius server, radius profile, that will provision to the USG that's on your site. You can have multiple sites with multiple different radius servers. The nice thing is they're local, so if the internet goes down, your radius auth still works. So you go ahead and set up, a new user with the VLAN. You can set tunnel types, all the stuff that you do with radius, but it's now in Unifi. And so when you create a profile here, means there's service. You create radius, then you can create a profile. So these are various profiles, so like VPN access, for example. You can create that profile. Then you can go ahead and add this for auth on your switches and your APs. And you can also group edit all this stuff, so you can apply it site-wide or specific locations. So that's a lot of the more sophisticated access control that we have now. The next bit that, again, some might be aware of, but we've definitely seen some folks that didn't know about this yet, is more advanced guest control. So you can enable guest portal, and there are a lot of folks. Oh, actually, let me. Mine, I have some customized stuff, so it won't. Again, excuse the internet here. It's taking a while to even just load the icons. Anyways, we'll skip to the next one while that loads. So then we have DPI, so for more analytics into your network. So let's see, my internet might have just dropped. Yep.
That's the beauty of show internet.
Oh, there we go, we're
there
back.
We go.
I won't call out the vendor who provides Wi-Fi here, but it's not us. So you can look at traffic stats, let's see if this loads. So this is when I was talking about analytics in your network. So you can see, streaming media. You're like, okay, well, I don't care about streaming media. I want to look at what network protocols are used. So you see network protocols is using, 20 gigabytes on my network over the last period since it was reset. And you can say it's HTTP, so it's TLS, SSL. And then you can say, okay, well, who's using that? So you click on it and you can see my wife's MacBook is using that iPhone Chromecast Audio and Chromecast Audio Patio. So learn something I didn't know. I didn't know Chromecast used that. So then you can also see sorted by app. So you can say, okay, well, Apple.com is used. How many users are currently using it? So you can look through and say, okay, Google Docs, this is how much is being used. No one's currently using it. Dropbox, someone is currently using that service, and that's how much has been used. And then a breakdown of users. So say if you want to see who's using network protocols only, and you want to sort by that, notice I'm deselecting other things, and it's showing me who's using that. So the My Queue is using this network protocol, so that's a Wi-Fi garage door opener, by the way, for those that are curious. And if you want to see who's using streaming media, Sonos is doing most of the streaming media. We use Sonos a lot. Web 2.0, laptop, social network, that's probably going to be a no surprise. So no one is currently doing traffic on social network, and then these are the file transfers. So you can go through and see visibility on all sorts of different things, right? And sorting by the categories that you are showing. Some other new stuff. So let's see if... Okay, so this is up now, the slow connection. So what you see is what you get, editable hotspot. This has been a pretty big request. So enable guest portal. I want it to be a guest portal. I want it to be a hotspot. And then you say, I want it to look awesome. And then there you go. There's the page you get. It's responsive. There's mobile preview. And you're like, okay, well, I want more stuff. So let's do payment. So you can like Stripe, authorize.net. You can add and subtract all your payment gateways and all that stuff. And all the fields that you want to collect for hotspot analytics. And then you can do Facebook and Google login. And you can do voucher too. So voucher is really popular in hotels and print it out. Someone even made like an auto printer for vouchers, which is pretty cool. And then for Facebook and Google, you just need to enter your app ID because they track it per install. So you enter that, and then you can do Facebook and Google, and then set it up for whitelisting, that's what this pop-up is here. So then let's get back to control. So you've got DPI, you've got the hotspot that you can set up. Here's the desktop and mobile, so it's responsive. It works on iPads. It works on for all your guests. So then back to control. Another top requested feature that we have that's been expanded a lot is group config and also customizable columns. So I'll turn both of these on. So you turn on customizable columns. I want to know the MAC address of all of these, or I want to know the number of clients, or the 2G connected, or I want to know the RX and TX rate, or the channel or channel utilization. It's all on here. So you can put channel utilization, and it shows you, that's a good view of network health, right? So in this network, 2.4 gigahertz is trashed. You can see we're at like 75% total utilization. So you can then dive in and see what this looks like. Actually, I'll switch back to this controller. So it's this is my network. So let's look at HD Garage and look at channel utilization in my garage. 2.4 gigahertz should be pretty trashed here as well. So channel utilization, if I click that right tab, so you can see we're at, it gives you the breakdown by colors. So RX frames, those are 802.11 frames that the thing is decoding. So those would be anything that's interfering on 2.4 gigahertz. The radio is having to spend time listening to that to see if it's for it. And then this is the TX frame, so that's the stuff that the radio is actually sending. So you can see 43% of the total, or 43% of the airtime is used for receive right now, stuff that AP doesn't even care about. 2% is used for actual transmitting, and then 5% is just straight up interference of some unknown form, which could be Wi-Fi that's too far away to decode properly. So, and it tells you here too, it's high, likely a problem, and 2.4 gigahertz is intentionally at my house a problem for testing. And you can look at 5 gigahertz on this channel, channel 40, there's nothing on it, which makes sense. And you have a graphical view here too. And another way to like look at your site health is you can see how your channels are used, which ones have bad interference, which don't. And with that, you also have group configurations. So pop over here, turn on advanced settings, we'll enable group config more specifically. You say, okay, well, these are on a channel I did not like, or they're blasting too much power, they're causing interference. I want to change all of these, or all 30 of these. You want to change every single one, you can. So you can go through here, and it supports tagging, which can be very useful. So you can enter tags to say, like, these are devices in a room, so I want to turn the LED off on all these. So you can say, use the site settings or turn the LED off on these, or this really shouldn't be using 40 megahertz channels, put it to 20 megahertz. And actually these, because they're very separated on the site, let's put them all on 6 because they're the furthest away. And then you can queue all this and change everything as once. So if you wanted to change band steering on 100 APs, you just come in here and change band steering, change min RSSI. So it allows you, well, one, with the tagging functionality, to tag groups of APs, to remember like what that's used for, whether that's in a room or outside or what have you, and then you can do config and sorting based on that. So that's group edit, which guys have been really happy about. So you can see, you can see the changes before you apply it too, which is another requested feature. Now to some coming soon stuff. I'm actually running a testing release, so this isn't public yet. There's some additional functionality. We've gotten complaints from guys that Unifi works great when you do a smaller site and you start to scale, stuff goes wrong. Usually, like when we work with those guys, usually what happens is there's not proper broadcast and multicast domain control on the LAN, right? If you use Unifi, you have the functions to do that on our switches. You just have to know to do it. And then you can do that, you control your broadcast. Why does broadcast matter? It's sent at 1 megabit per second or 6 megabit per second. So even a tiny amount of data uses tons of your airtime, which is, that's your fuel tank for Wi-Fi. So we're introducing a feature that allows, by default, if you're doing a guest network, broadcast and multicast doesn't have to happen between stations on the network. So this, by default, blocks that through and through. So stuff coming from the LAN out the APs, it blocks it, and it auto adds so you can see here it actually says auto detected. That's the gateway. So if you're just doing a straight up guest network in a hotel, chances are you just turn this feature on, now you're good. You've optimized your airtime. Your broadcast and multicast domains are fantastic for what you need. But say, for example, maybe you want to have a Chromecast in every room. You can add that Chromecast, so you can find a client, add the client here, and you can whitelist those Chromecasts. So like in a school example, maybe you have a Chromecast in every classroom, you can whitelist those, and now iPhones and smartphones and all those things will default be able to talk to it, and you can further whitelist if you only want to the teachers to be able to talk to this Chromecast. So that's a coming soon feature. Well, it's out now in testing. So far it's been super useful for the guys who say, don't have the luxury of controlling the switch infrastructure. They inherited a site that has all these switches that maybe don't have what they need to do broadcast control. This gives those guys that flexibility. We've got great feedback on it. And then along those lines, there are more advanced features. So there's rate and beacon control. This helps to tune for big sites as well. So you can use default values. You can change DITIM, which some clients need, just essentially because of bad driver implementation, and then you can tune stuff for high density. So you can see here low density, so maximum compatibility, to high density, where you only let high rates. You're going to have guaranteed airtime efficiency with the potential cost of older, less capable clients might not be able to connect. Which, say in a stadium environment, you want to do that because you want good user experience for new and good phones. And then we have MAC access lists, so allow, deny. So if you want to whitelist your network, drop some employees, you want to make sure that they never get back on. You can blacklist or whitelist if you only want to allow. Allow is whitelist if you only want to allow certain Macs on there. So some other things that are kind of harder to show just in this demo is Radius Hotspot. So that's coming too. That allows you to make a hotspot page that integrates directly with the Radius server without extra work that you traditionally would have to do. And then hotspot analytics isn't in this demo primarily because it's just my home, so it doesn't have a hotspot, but you can look at who your customers are, how much they return, what revenue you get, all this sort of stuff that gives you the business side analytics that you want from your hotspot. It's been we haven't had as much visibility into, and so that's the guys that have been trying this have been pretty happy to say like, oh, I can actually see daily how much I'm getting, and I can like tweak settings to potentially increase my revenue or profit running Unifi hotspots. So those are the new features. A bunch of new hardware that came out between WISPapalooza and WISP America, and then a bunch of features. Most of what I showed you is out, and then the coming soon Multicast, rate control, MAC filter, radius hotspot, and hotspot analytics, all within probably the next 2 months. And that's it.
Ubiquiti has almost always had pretty interfaces, and so everything there has been very appealing. Seems like it's quite easy to work with. I do run some of the beta, maybe even pre-beta on mine, purely because of the switch I have kind of requires some of the more current stuff.
Oh yeah, so 5.4 is stable now for the 16xG, so you can actually run, and that's been stable for a bit now, but we have 5.5, which is what I'm running here, and there's also 5.6 out as well. So.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been updating and nothing is broken, so I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, so as part of our QA practices, we actually have nightly builds, and those nightly builds then go into automated tests in a variety of systems. So we've got shield rooms with APs running, doing throughput tests and all that sort of stuff. And so whenever a build happens, and a build happens every night, all of that testing happens with a variety of clients, and then also installed on all the permutations of machines. And then I actually have a video, it would take a bit to pull up, but we even automate iOS and Android clients. So we have a system now that we developed that allows you to have those log into various Wi-Fi SSIDs. So the build happens, it pushes, it's on a shielded environment, so it's repeatable, and then it controls those devices to actually authorize in a variety of ways. So whether that's radius or open, WPA personal, hotspot with voucher, hotspot with payment, all that stuff, it can all be automated because we have the system now to just control devices. We always had that for MacBook Pros and Linux and Windows, but now we have it for iOS and Android, and so that's probably a lot of the reason, even with the unstable stuff, that you install it and you're like, everything still works. The primary reason for the soaking beyond that is just the new features that maybe don't have the test coverage yet. So so that helps to get the automation helps to get regressions, which are really the worst of the bugs, right? Is when you upgrade them, and something you had working now doesn't work, but it doesn't catch the new features that maybe we haven't thought of how to automated test that yet, and that's what a lot of the soaking is for. So for a lot of if you're using it for a certain thing and you upgrade, you follow we follow the Debian terminology. So there's unstable is where features are actively added, and those might not even have test cases yet. Then that flows to testing, where we don't add any features. It's just bug fixing and soaking, and then that goes to stable candidate and stable. So if you're following the testing release in particular, it should. For what you're currently using, it should just work, right? Unless we're missing something, then we'll fix that in automation. And even for unstable, it should also probably just work. It's just the new features, maybe aren't going to be there. So.
Sure, yeah. And that's that is the most critical thing about testing new things, is that it's very difficult for everybody to have separate test environments that are yet still unique enough to warrant public testing, because otherwise you'll just do the same standard test yourself. So knowing that we can upgrade our home's network or one particular tower where the users know that that's going to happen, in that, in the access area, that's something you already have doesn't break, so you're not worried. Well, you're more eager to do those updates.
Yeah, it encourages and allows kind of the culture of oh yeah, I'll try that, because I know what I currently have, will probably keep working. There are times when stuff breaks, of course, because it is unstable and then it is in testing, but for the most part, there are a lot of guys that just run all the networks that they personally manage, that they don't have a customer agent on their neck. They'll just run some stage of that. Some guys, and that's what we're eventually hoping to get to, is where you can actually subscribe in the controller. So that's one a feature that guys have wanted, is I always run your stable candidates. That's because I want that's my risk tolerance. I want the new features, but I want them to have been soaked and tested by all these other layers first. And so the capability to be I want to auto upgrade whenever a stable candidate is pushed, just upgrade this site. So you could set that as a preference in the site, and then you could set it with a different prepper in the controller. You could set it in a different controller and say, I only want to upgrade when the stables are pushed, right? Or if you're very risk tolerant and you want to really try out features and get to developers to be this is how I want the feature to be, then you can subscribe to an unstable release. So every time an unstable release, and we'll probably push it as far as we have those nightly builds. So we'll make it so if you really want to, I think Chrome does this as well. You can subscribe to nightly, so just constantly thrashing through the revisions, right? And that's our goal, is to try to get the QA systems to the point where, and it's pretty good now, where a nightly build won't even be pushed, if there's any regression. And so we've actually caught that in several cases where maybe we won't have a nightly for 19 or 20 days just because the QA constantly catches a bug, and then we're fixing the bug, and then it catches a different bug. And so even the nightly is pretty good these days. So.
Earlier you mentioned a video on your testing procedures.
Yep.
If that's public, I think it'd be great for you guys to post just to kind of help explain that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that attention to detail and automation was done until you told me. So now I'm more eager to try more new things.
We've been meaning to post a video on it, and actually, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm UBNT Brandon. I kind of posted a teaser because someone was asking, I think maybe about DPI or something, and so we actually were using automation on iPhones and stuff. But yeah, we've been meaning to get articles out because there's a lot of behind the scenes test stuff that isn't documented, whether it's our anechoic chambers or our hardware QA automation or our iOS and Android QA automation. And we can actually pull all the logs and everything through those APIs, so you can run the QA and then you can see directly the logs. So there are specific logs in iOS where they get really frustrated with roaming, and so you can just search for those automatically in the QA systems to see if that ever pops up again with our 802.11r implementation, for example. So, yeah, that's it's an initiative right now. A lot of the focus has just been oh cool, wow, look, this works, and then expanding off of it, and it's pretty easy to forget to publish that stuff. So we'll probably in the coming months we'll have a lot more of that coming out, whether it's radiation patterns. We've been doing a lot of work to vet radiation patterns, or to just showing the techniques we use, and then increasing the documentation to make it easier for all our customers to say, oh, okay, that's how that actually works. So.
Good deal.
Yeah.
I think everybody will appreciate all the new stuff and attention you put into this.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you guys.